What I have here is a set of BikeMaster heated grips. As I've said in my first video, I'm in Alaska, so it goes without saying that heated grips will be really nice on my motorcycle. Okay, and we've got a bunch of little things falling out of the back. Okay, looks like these are plugs for the end, like in the end of the handlebar. That's my guess. And some instructions, and then glue for the grips to glue them onto the handlebars, I'm assuming, and a little bracket mount for the button. And let me pull this out of here. Without yanking any wires loose. And I'll get it laid out a little better so you can see, so everybody can see what we have. In fact, I'll unplug this wiring so we can set that aside for a moment. And that's pretty obvious, the wiring that comes right from the battery. So you can run some wiring from your battery up closer to the grips themselves. And then we've got the grips with the control switch. And its wires get split off, and each wire goes to each grip. And I'll try to show the grip a little bit better. These grips are certainly a little stiffer than what I had on the bike. And unlike other grip heating elements where it's just kind of like a flat metal pattern that you can stick to your handlebar underneath your grip, these, the heating element is built and fused to the inside of the grip, so that's why it's kind of thicker and has tougher housing. It isn't soft, so if anybody was wondering how soft this is for a nice comfortable ride, it's really not very soft at all. Maybe it'll soften up a little bit when it gets warm. I have a feeling that I'll be really glad that I have riding gloves. You do get a lot of grip on this though. This texture in here is really grippy. So the quality seems pretty good. I think I would have liked to have had something a little bit softer, just to cut back on vibration maybe, hand fatigue. Overall, I think I'll be perfectly happy. I'm excited to get started on this. It is now time to get the BikeMaster heated grips installed on this Suzuki Bandit. The bar you're looking at here is a Renthal Road Low bar, and one of the nice things about it is that it has this texture on here. I'm not sure if you can see it in the video, but that'll help it grip into this grip, any grip really, as opposed to a smooth bar where you will definitely need glue. Now the BikeMaster grips do come supplied with glue, and I could very well use the glue because the plastic on the inside of the grip here, it's kind of hard, but it's not completely hard. And honestly, there's so much, I guess it's called knurled, so much knurling on here. I think there's going to be plenty enough grip. So what we'll do, we'll just get busy. I've kind of checked this a little bit to begin with. We're going to get this slid on here for this first step. This is the easiest side to do. The throttle side has some work that you have to do to the throttle plastic itself before the grip will go on. So let's get this one on. And you just need to make sure that this part of where the wire enters the heated grip, make sure that's facing downward or down and even a tiny bit back, so you don't really have to see the wire sticking down there. And for me, I'm using this line right here, assuming all their grips are positioned in the exact same spot. I'll use that line right there and place that line at the top of the bar. Now the top of the bar will be different depending on if your steering is turned a little bit, but not that much different. So anyway, that's the gauge I'm going off of. And we'll see how this goes. Well, I thought this was important to share. I started to push this on and twist and turn, and of course, the bike's not fast and solid, so it makes it sort of difficult to push hard. So I've got a rubber mallet here. I'll just smack on the end. I started doing it already. Seems to be working really well. So if anybody else thought that this might be an option, I'll just let you see. Okay, at this point, I've got the heating element plastic, the inner plastic of the grip, almost lined up with the bar. Probably a couple more hits and then I'll leave it alone, because if the rubber is past the end, that's okay. If it's past the end just a tiny bit, that'll be fine, because when the bar end goes on, it'll be a nice flush mate there. And that's it. And since I didn't glue it, if I do need to smack it on a little bit more when I go to put the bar end on, I can do that without a problem. Next up for me, in my particular plan, is to mount the switch, which I'll do right here. With this particular bar, I've got a little extra space here. I can fit this in place, and then from the front of the bike or the side, it won't be noticeable. It's really only going to be seen by the rider. And then the wiring, I'll put under the bar, but on top of or against the wiring for the turn signal. So basically, we'll have something like this going on. Neat and tidy. Looks and functions well. And I plan on mounting this using the supplied bracket. I have enough room on the bar back here to put the second half of the bracket around. They supply double-sided tape to stick it to the mounting bracket, but the instructions also say that you can pull these little screws out, mount the back of the bracket on here, put the screws back in, so then it becomes a solid fixture. You don't have this double-sided tape that's going to weather away, or who knows, maybe it could be bumped and then all of a sudden you got a switch flopping around if it comes off. So that's my plan. I'll have to take these inside, get some jeweler's tools, and get this mounted on, and then I'll come back out and finish putting the switch on. Now you can see that I have the back of the bracket mounted directly to the switch itself. Be careful with these screws. They supply longer screws, so you pull out the original screws that are in the switch, you put the longer ones in, cinch them down nice and snug, and kind of work in a pattern, go back and forth, but don't tighten them too tight. You'll easily crack these little corners. And what I plan on doing in order to get this in place, it's sort of awkward for me to get this bracket in between the bar and the clutch master cylinder. So my plan is to mount it really loose down low if possible, and maybe even start working on it like this so I can get the screwdriver on the screw really easily. Rotate it and then kind of turn and slide it up in there, and then hopefully I'll only have to tighten up the other screw on the other side. There you have it. The switch is mounted in place. I was not able to have the switch butted up against the clutch master cylinder there wasn't enough room in the back for the bracket where it kind of screws on to slip behind there. Starting the screw in with this rotated forward helped a lot. So I got that one in there and got it cinched down about to the point where I thought it would be once the other side got put in and tightened, rotated it up, and then came in from the underneath and got the other screw. And I tightened them up to the point where this doesn't want to rotate anymore, and then I stopped. That way I wouldn't risk breaking it. And then the wire comes down, and temporarily, although to be honest, it's almost not even noticeable, temporarily I have a little twisty tie down here just to keep these wires together. But I'll probably come in later and put a small black zip tie on there, something like that. This actually works out pretty well, and you don't even notice it. So the wiring is run up behind the headlight housing. But what I will work on next is the throttle, which requires a little bit of customization. The throttle has a plastic ring right here, it has a plastic ring right here, neither of which is going to work with the molding of the BikeMaster heated grip for the throttle side. In case you had no reason to watch my previous video on changing the handlebars of the Suzuki Bandit, I wanted to cover really quickly how to remove the throttle. There are two screws that keep this housing secure together. You'll find one right here and another on what would be the rear side, or towards the rear of the bike right there. Additionally, you'll need to loosen up the cables, screw them in that direction. That'll relieve tension on the cable. You'll then be able to pull the cables out of that housing. Of course, once this top is off, we'll be able to see that, so let me get to that next. As you can see, I now have the top off. Now, when I swapped out the handlebars, and I shot some other video of that, once this top was off, I was able to rotate the throttle and see how there's slack in that cable. I was able to actually just pull the cable up and pull it out. However, with these handlebars, they're longer, the throttle has been moved out, the brake has been moved over, so everything's kind of pulled a little bit tighter. So just loosening up the cable down here isn't enough. It's not really enough slack. I can't really pull that cable. So in the event that you have the same sort of issue, the solution is really simple. Just loosen this up a little bit so you can slide this down. You can slide all this that direction. That'll give you a little bit more slack on the cable. So that's what I will do next. Lucky for me, I was in the process of doing everything, and it's winter time. I haven't ridden, so I haven't adjusted all these things, and I haven't set them in place very tight so they're easy to move around. You're gonna want to be careful not to scratch your bar up. Just wiggle that over. That's just a little bit of dust in there. Now I can slide this forward. Now you can see how much more slack is building up in that cable. So rotate it, get some slack, pull this one out. Once you do that, the throttle will move the whole opposite direction very easily, giving plenty of slack on the other cable. It'll fall right out, and then you can just pull it off the bar and get to work on shaving up this plastic for your heated grips. Alright, so getting started, this little ring of plastic around the outside end, it's pretty small, it's hard to grip, it's also pretty flexible, so I'm not getting anywhere with just pliers. This side, on the other hand, you can grab a lot, grab it straight down, do a little twist, you'll snap off a giant chunk. I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but there's a huge piece missing now. Let's see if I can keep going here, pretty easy. Little twist. You know what? Probably not a bad idea to have some eye protection on. These pieces are flying all over the place. You can see that the throttle has been fully modified. This outer ring was easy enough to cut off just by placing the blade right against the plastic and making outward cuts. That'll be off in a few seconds. Each one of these ridges has been beveled. Just bevel it down so that the grip will slide on a little easier, including these back here. There was a gap here, so I beveled all these ends. You could bevel these ends right here just in case you ever pull the grip off. It'll make it easier. I'm really not concerned with it. The grip's probably not going to come off for 10 years, so yeah, not a big deal. And then all this plastic right here, I recommend to first start off by, there's some little areas of plastic that connect in against this ring. Cut through those. There's another one up there. There's maybe like 4 or 5 all the way around. Cut through those. Then make some cuts, pushing all the way down to this section of the throttle. That'll help you when you come in and you start trying to whittle away, every little chunk will just pop right out. That'll make it a lot easier. You'll have a lot more control. It'll also help you to set this up on end. You can put it on that end to help you kind of get some better force pushing down. Just be careful of 2 things. If you're pushing down and it pops free, you'll pop this ring right off as well. I actually took a tiny chunk off down there. And the other thing is, if this is standing upright or if you've got this propped up on something, it'd be really easy to bust this section off here that holds the cable. So just be careful. But everything went pretty good for me, so now I get to actually put the grip on. As you can see, I have the throttle mounted back on the bike. I checked that the grip would slide on easy enough. And I gotta tell you, beveling these little ridges, that is the trick. Just do that, it'll make it so easy for you. It was gonna go on easy, so I decided to get it back on the bike and let the bike and actually the BikeMaster cylinder here kind of hold things while I get to push it on. So that said, you'll see there's a little bit of gap here. That is because I have this butted right up against the BikeMaster cylinder. That'll hold it in place. If you don't do that, and if this isn't tight enough, and honestly, it's probably never going to be tight enough because these Renthal bars are kind of slippery. If you don't push this up against the BikeMaster cylinder, you're just going to end up sliding this. So I've got it butted up against there. Now we'll get this pushed on, and I'm really concerned with this particular hump of rubber and the wiring. I'm going to make sure that that is down below the grip. That way, as you rotate, that wiring never really comes up. It's never really visible. So for me, that means that this particular pattern in the grip will be facing upwards. That'll keep the wire straight down. We'll see how well easily we can push this on. Not too bad. Okay, now I'm at the point where I'm hitting the bar with my hand. Probably what I'll do is kick the camera off. I'm going to stand on this side and push it with my right hand a little bit further. Okay, I switched up my game plan here a little bit. What I had to do was actually bring the master cylinder, loosen it up, slide it up against this, and even I think I went a little bit further. I moved this end off the bar a little bit, clamped it down. I was able to push the throttle on, and then I moved everything back over in place. I wanted to mention too that at least one, if not maybe 2 twisty ties comes in the packaging, so if you need something to keep all your wires clean and tidy, there you go. And that one's so long you could cut it. That's what I'll be doing. So this right here, got your button in place. The wire from your button is only so long, so keep that in mind. It can only get so far. So it's back down, it's in here behind my speedometer and my headlight. This is one of the plugs that plugs into it from one of the heated grips. They're both just kind of tucked in here until I get it cleaned up. And then here's the cord from the throttle side. That will be zip tied up here with this slack so that the throttle can actually be rotated. So you have to keep some slack in there. And then you can see the female end of the connector that leads to the button. I'll be plugging in there, and then I'll just bring my wire right along with the rest of this wiring harness and get back to my battery. Should be pretty simple. Absolutely. Although I wish I had two hands right at the moment. See if I can get that hooked on there, and then I can pull it the rest of the way through. So now, easily, I'll be able to go up to the female end and plug it in. And then this portion, for the time being, until I take the tank off, I'll run it with the rest of the wiring harness up top out of the way. And then we'll get to fastening it to the battery. So I removed the gas tank so that I could run the wiring up underneath along the frame. And get it all neat and tidy. Since it comes into the frame back up in here, I have it run right alongside this part of the wiring harness, and this this tie strap here, or zip tie, basically it's a zip tie anyway, you can lift up on this tab and loosen the whole thing up. So I took it off, put my wires there up underneath, and then I put it back on. So that one's holding it, and then it comes up. I brought it to the top and put a little zip tie there, ran it behind here, a little zip tie again. I wish I had some black ones, but I couldn't find any. Goes underneath, again it's right with all the wires. And then again I used this little zip tie thing around there, and then here's the wires right there, and then brought it up. Now, now we are really close to being able to connect the wires. This right here, these are wires that lead back to my little power supply back here, USB power supply. And that also has a negative, a ground wire connected right at the post for the battery. And here, the wires for the heated grips, I'll be doing that same thing. And that negative goes on. What I need to do next is figure out which wire do I want to connect the positive to, and that needs to be a line that has 12 volts when the key is turned on. I've got the ignition on. Actually, let me do this. Ignition off. Got the tester. The tester's clipped up to the negative here, and you know all the fuses, they make it really easy to test, see if they're getting any power, because you can touch the little posts that are kind of there, touch the metal, you know, no power anywhere. And of course, you know, I mentioned earlier I was kind of focused on this particular fuse right here. I think I'm going to change my course of action here, but let me get bike switched on, and then I've got the tester. You'll see I can touch there, so yeah, they all get power when the key is on. Now what I was looking at was all the wires down in here, a lot of skinnier ones, and there's one fat orange one, which would tell me clearly there's more juice coming through here. And that one, it comes up underneath, and I was sort of looking at, you know, this one comes from the ignition, that particular fuse that was in the middle. Let me straighten out my camera here. But there's no wire from the other side. Well, what it is this main wire coming in actually feeds power to a few of the fuses. And what I did was, again, see if we can do this well. You can see here, I came in with my tester from underneath, and you can see the tester kind of poking in there. Okay, and there we go. So that's actually touching just that power coming in from that line. So at this point, my plan is to not worry about the wire coming from that exact fuse. What I will do is clamp the heated grips wire right onto that main orange wire right there. This is what I'll be using to connect the wires. Actually, I'm pretty sure that something like this was supposed to come in the packaging for the heated grips, and I did not have one, so I went and bought some at a local auto shop. Nice thing about these, tell you what, I'm getting really good at doing stuff one-handed. If I ever lose my right hand, it's not going to be a big deal. Anyway, the nice thing about these is that you'll see there's only, you can unclip this and put one wire all the way through, but then the other side is closed off on the end. So the other side is meant to have the wire, one single wire poked in, and then it remains sealed off on here, which is what we're going to do. We're going to poke this end in there and clamp it down, and we will be clamping it down onto that thicker orange wire down in there. And there we have it. It's all nice and secure. Fastened, squeezed it down. You know, even if you use pliers on this side to get it closed, and then you'll hear it kind of click, keeps that little top down. Come in from the other side and pinch down again. You'll feel that little metal clasp in there. You'll feel it kind of squeeze in a little bit tighter till it's done. And then at this point, what I need to do is I guess check that I have some continuity and that I've got a flow through that wire right now. I have the tester connected up again, and previously you might have noticed I had the negative detached and everything, so that's connected up. Tester's on, my ignition is on, and then there you go. So we definitely have power to the heated grips, which is perfect. And then of course the heated grips wouldn't ever be on unless the button to the grips has been pushed to turn them on. But we definitely have power at this point in time. So I will continue on with getting my negatives connected back up, and then maybe zip tying some of these wires so they're not loose or so loose in here. All right, I'm getting excited. We're about ready to test things out. I've got the negative wire attached. All I did to kind of clean things up was just zip tie the lines off a little bit so they're not moving around as much. The length of all this was about perfect to come back in here and not have any, you know, restrictions on how I'm going to run the wiring, but that's fine. The seat's going to go on there. Everything's connected up. So let's give it a shot here. Well, that's cool. I didn't know it did that. Tries to look fancy for a second there, so it's got some power. Okay. And then, all right. How easy was that? Okay, yeah, sweet. Can't wait to have that in the spring and in the fall. I really hope this video helps somebody out, because honestly, this is all the same on any bike, and I really try to go through each step to make it simpler. Tell you what, I might be kidding myself, but I think I can feel a little bit of warmth. I definitely can. Very cool. Okay, so I don't want to wear my battery out. What I'll do is, I think tomorrow I'll get the bike outside where it's all snowy and cold and run the bike, run the heated grips, and give it a good test. And I'll try and get a thermometer on here so we can actually get a reading on some temperature. It'll be an analog thermometer more than likely, but whatever, you'll get the idea. So very cool. I can't wait to use these. You can probably hear it, but if not, my bike is running outside the door. It's been out there for about 5 to 10 minutes, and I have the heated grips turned on. I also have one of my riding gloves on the throttle. It's bungeed on. That way the heat from the grip can build up on the inside. So I have a laser thermometer, which is pretty awesome. Borrowed this from my landlord, of all people. And so I'll take a reading of the ambient temperature outside from some other surface out there, and then we'll take my glove off and I'll get a reading of the grip, and then I'll be able to share that information with everybody. Okay, so here's the bike looking from this view. First thing I want to do is get a temperature reading of an outside surface. So let's do this. Okay, so we have about 19 degrees, that's Fahrenheit. And then I'll do the grip that hasn't been covered. That's pretty impressive. That has been out in the cold for quite a while. 98.5 degrees, almost 100. And then this side's got my riding glove. Compliments of Roland Sands Designs. And let's see what temperature we get. There we go. 128, 129. Pretty cool. What would a video like this be without revving up the engine? Okay, that concludes the project, and I gotta say I'm really happy. The test results turned out really well. And when I brought the bike in and I had my hands on the grips and I was pushing the bike in, it was a really comforting feeling, literally comforting, to have some heat on there underneath my hands. So I'm looking forward to the spring and fall rides up here in Alaska. So just a quick review, you know, the installation process was really easy. I guess the trickiest thing about it would be the customizing the throttle underneath here, which isn't that big a deal. All you need is a pair of pliers and a carpenter knife, so we found. So not a big deal there. And the quality is really good. I mentioned earlier about the thickness or the softness of the grips. Well, the rubber on here isn't that thick, so they really can't be soft. They provide a lot of grip. They're a little bit thicker than the stock grips, so they don't have so much of a sport feel. They're more for touring. So they're really comfortable. You know, once I had my riding gloves on, put my hands on here, I like them. I like the way they feel. I feel like I have a more relaxed grip, and although, you know, I also have brand new handlebars on here, but I feel like I just have better control. I think I'm going to be really happy with this setup later on. If there's something about the BikeMaster heated grips that could be improved, there's not much, but if there's anything, I would say that they could make this square button little housing here, they could make that a little bit more modern. It's blocky, you know, it's just not that cool, especially for something that potentially is going to be right in your face that you can see on the bike, and mine is. So they could make this more modern, and it's still just plastic, you know, injection molded or something like that, so I wouldn't think that that would make the cost higher. So they could do that, and that'd be great. But otherwise, I like the feel of the button. I like the little lights, how they light up and tell you what setting that you're at. The quality seems good. I think this is going to last for years. So only time will tell. If this video helps somebody out, then by all means, you know, click like. That's one of very few rewards that I'm getting out of doing these videos right now. And you know, do that. And then I've got more videos coming out. I've got one on removing the tank and how to make that process a little bit quicker, a couple things to look out for. And I'll also do some videos on my custom setup on the front up here for the chrome headlight, because this Suzuki Bandit used to have, you know, the fairing and everything around, so that's all been removed. That front end's custom. We've got, you know, different exhaust on, So just a couple little things that I'll do some video reviews on. So if you want to see those, definitely subscribe, and when I get the videos posted, you will be the first to know. Thanks for watching. Take care.